going to bring the video assistant referee to Nigeria. Well, how possible is it? Are you sure somebody's not going to unplug it and charge their phones? Well, it's a conversation for the afternoon, the potentiality of bringing the video assistant referee to Nigeria. And is VAR the biggest of our problems right now in football in the country? We'll look at the stories and, of course, talk about them in light of the MPFL retreat. As part of the retreat as well, the NFF made a case for home-based players to be called up frequently to the national team, and it's a conversation. We'll look at what this means to Super Eagles side, and of course, the talk about some of our home-based players being better than players in Super Eagles camp. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Football Fans Planet. It's live on Planet Radio 101.1 FM. Fine Friday, and that's because this is the first day of December 2023. Happy New Month. Of course, we'll look at all the stories around the scene. Argentina lost to Mali in the third place playoff. Paraphrasing, Mali defeated Argentina to take third place at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. And of course, for the Super Falcons, they showed class, dominance, you name it, against Cape Verde yesterday. 5 massive goals to nil. The scoreline at the end of the 90 as the Falcons cruise past the Cape Verdeans. We look forward to seeing the second leg in Cape Verde in the next couple of days, but so far so good. It's been good. Look at the Akwa Ibom State Governors Cup as well. It reaches its final four. 4 more local government areas left to the competition. Fine stuff. And we'll look at the teams who have made it to that stage and their chances of still staying there. Well, big ups to Uyo. They've showed wide at the state's capital. Yeah, and of course, good news from an Akwa Ibom perspective. The story came out yesterday. The chairman of Akwa United, Elder Paul Bassi, emerged as the second vice president of the inaugural African Club Association. We'll look at this in light of the promise keepers and what this man's position will mean to Akwa United going forward. But nevertheless, it is good news, not just for Akwa Ibom State, but for Nigeria. The man also is going to be the member representing Wafu B at the ACA board. And I tell you, this makes sense. We'll look at the Europa League and the way Heidi Maguire. Month, as a matter of fact. Well, when it's time, we'll give you the story in full detail, but trust me, Brighton is set to celebrate to the biggest of fashions this month. Can I hear an amen? Amen. 090-2223-1011 and 0817-624-8565 would give you the chance to be a part of the show. Well, guys, I woke up this morning, I told you in the morning, feeling grateful, right, for the year in review. It's been filled with everything, ups and downs, goods and bads, but of course we're grateful for life, and we're grateful that we're here today despite all of the challenges that have come our way from the start of the year till now. And I would ask you, Brighton, for a start, how excited are you for the month of December 2023?
Well, for me, Mari, it's been that of mixed feelings because on the other hand, the month is quite demanding for me.
Yeah, it's
sort of a lot of things, so.
That kind of demand would end in something quite beautiful.
Yeah. On the other hand, I try to see the transition. It makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
It seemed like something I've been dreaming for a long time, and now it's going to happen.
Surely.
So big. And what a way to cap the year. Yeah. What a way to cap the year for me, because it seemed to me, at the end of it, it would be such a fantastic year for me.
Should I tell them, or I should keep it chill?
Hold it.
All right. Well, UT, it's been quite a year. You know, You didn't start the year here.
Absolutely.
You know, but you're ending the year here. Makes sense.
Shows some level of progression, particularly with numerous challenges, but at the end, it's about progression. And
what type of challenges?
I wouldn't want I wouldn't want to go into the details of it, Barry, but I think the positives are quite numerous to take from, you know, the challenging here so far. And I'm also delighted.
What have you learned in this year, particularly the challenges you faced? What has been the lesson you've learned, UT?
Well, you've mentioned of never give up, a typical example of what Harry Maguire faced.
Out of the area of the lessons, I think this particular year, the things I've been able to do that before now, I just keep setting limitations and say, oh, the reason I can do it is this. And for me, the things I've tried to do and have been able to do, what I've really learned from it has been no limitation. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
No more excuse. No excuse for anything.
Yeah.
You got to do it. With no cash, you can do it if you set your mind to do it.
Absolutely.
Just dream about it. Want to do it, you can do it.
You can do it. Talking from experience there. So that's the conversation. It's been quite a year, and I would love to also get your thoughts on how this year has been for you so far. What are you grateful for? And of course, what is the major lesson that you've learned in 2023? You can link it to football, we don't mind. Well, we can do this once in a while because, of course, football relates to life and vice versa. So that's why we're starting like this.
I say, why does it feel so good to be there? Getting what I want, boy.
We hear it's now been trimmed down to 4 teams left in the competition after we saw the quarterfinals played in the course of the week. And of course, it's been an interesting story, especially for the teams who have made the way on the to the semifinals of the competition. Well, do us the honors, take us through the list of teams left in the competition and how the semi-final pairings look like.
4 teams are left in the competition, the likes of Ikorabasi, Uyo, Senodum, and Urofong. And as it stands, Ikorabasi will play against Senodum in the semi-finals, while Uyo will also trade tackles with Urofong. So those 2 matches will determine who goes straight to the finals and face off each other.
Right, so Obudukara lost finally.
Yeah,
it's a conversation for the next couple of days, as a matter of fact. Well, maybe we could also talk to some players because the captain of the Uyo side is somebody I know so well. Maybe you could get him on the show one of these days and get him to talk to us about how he feels like, and of course, what is the spirit in the camp in Uyo like. Maybe sometime next week. Right, so well, moving on, it was a story that broke out yesterday, and I was so happy, filled with so much joy when I saw the story that the chairman of Kwa United, Elder Paul Bassi, has been announced and elected, as a matter of fact, elected as the second vice president of the African Club Association. Well, the African Club Association is a body that was set up recently to give football clubs in Africa a voice in the African football scene, and they had their first ever meeting in the course of the week. And yesterday in Egypt, they had an election where out of the 4 Nigerian club presidents that went for that meeting, Elder Paul Bassi of Akwa United emerged as a board member, a second vice president of the African Club Association, and also he's going to represent WAFU Zone B in the ACA board. Now, Brighton, this in its entirety, it's a beautiful story for so many reasons. First of all, the club chairman of Akwa United, Plateau, Bendel, and Enugu Rangers traveled to, Egypt. And of course, it was Paul Bassi that turned out to be the man elected into the ACA board. It shows you that this man has got credibility both in the country and outside the country.
Yeah, I think he's the only elder in that mix.
Yeah,
so it makes even more sense.
Oh, makes sense.
Well,
elder.
God, you
nice,
must say.
nice.
But what I love about the whole idea, and Elder Paul Bassi, forgive me, what I love about Elder Paul Bassi is the fact that he also understands the politics in the game. Remember, recently I really talked about the politics that comes with this game, because there seem to be lots of politics in there, but great progression for him and great projection for the state, because if he gets to do well in Africa, it projects the state, projects Aqua United, and projects Nigerian football. But let's talk about the quality of the man. If there's a man that knows how to do the job, definitely it's Elder Paul Bassi for me. I remember when Aqua United was struggling, he came on board. Yeah, many people would say they've also been funding in the team. But it takes someone that knows how to manage a team like Aqua United. Yesteryears, and Aqua United was transmogrified, became a solid team. No more team battling relegation every season, but became a team that won the league title. And that's something to look forward to. So for me, massive man, a good projection. I want to see what he gets to do moving forward. Because lots of ideas will be shared at that level, getting to learn from the best of the best and see what they're doing, especially North Africans and South Africans, and see how to implement that in Africa, in Nigeria rather, because it's quite concerning in Nigeria the way we handle football, and good to have the man in that mix.
Definitely. Well, the newly elected officials of the ACA include Hersi Ali Said, who is the president of Young African Football Club of Tanzania, is the president of ACA elected yesterday. Jessica Mutang, the marketing director of Kaizer Chiefs Football Club of South Africa, who served as the first vice president of the ACA. Well, UT, what does this mean for Aqua United for Nigeria?
I think it means something quite, handy. Quite large, particularly for Nigerian Premier Football League. Mario, I heard about 4 Premier League clubs, or 4 Nigerian Premier League clubs were also invited for that meeting. The likes of Enugu Rangers, Bendel Insurance, Plateau United, and of course Aqua United. And in all of this, we had Elder Paul Bassi being selected as the second vice president. That certainly shows you the quality the man brings, and of course his level of competence as it has to do with Nigerian football. Just like Blyden said, overcoming the politics that comes with football, particularly in the country. But away from that now, I'm also looking at this organization trying to improve the structure of African football. I do not know how it's actually run, particularly in other African countries. But if we talk about Nigeria, particularly, the structure have been poor over time. It's situations where we have, contract not being honored, particularly when it has to do with players and the rest of them.
So we see a change when the man comes in?
I feel we can actually see a change, because with this union, we can actually have one policy that cuts across other African countries and other traditional African leagues as well.
All right, that's a conversation. Well, talk about the league and what this means. I think this is where we'll glide into the NPFL quickly and talk about the recent announcement made by the president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Gozo, saying that he will ensure the usage of the video assistant referee in Nigerian leagues before the end of his tenure. He spoke in a video. I played it, a while ago. Basically, and the man said, first of all, that referees are going to be trained for a few weeks in Morocco. Morocco is the first country to try the VR system. He trained in Morocco, first of all, for a few weeks, and then he will ensure that the VAR is brought to the Nigeria League. Well, UT, it sounds quite glamorous, sounds beautiful, as a matter of fact. Yeah, because, imagine us having, what everybody's having right now in the VR system. It will make sense. It will show progression. It will show expansion, of our league, as a matter of fact. But then there are issues lurking around. There are issues in the circumference of this gist. And first of it will be the issue of security. Right? Because referees, naturally...
They're not even secure.
So somebody walks into that VR room and slaps somebody, that kind of thing. But let's not bring bad news to you yet. What do you make of the VR story?
I think it's a welcome development, particularly in the Nigerian Premier Football League. I heard the man, Ibrahim Gozo, talking about it. And what fascinating thing about it is because it's not being dragged into the league just immediately. He made mention of the fact that before the end of his tenure, you will actually, see about the introduction of the VAR to the Nigerian Premier Football League, which I think it will take a long time. We're talking 2 to 3 years from now, basically. And he also made mention of the fact that these referees will also, be trained, particularly in Morocco, or maybe sent to Morocco to also see how this particular machine or how this VAR are being operated, particularly in all the Senate climbs who are using it on the continent of Africa. It's a welcome thing for me. But I think away from that now, we also have challenges where I think on my part, we should also improve on before introducing this VAR to the Nigerian Premier Football League. I talked about hooliganism with Brighton yesterday when the news broke out. We haven't really had enough security, particularly in match centres. And most times when you see referees make calls that are not quite favourable to, the home or the away fans, you tend to see, some sort of hooliganisms by go down well with our leagues. Most times you see, before we talk about the introduction.
Well, before they think about they conceive the idea of bringing the VAR, they should have made some certain arrangements in place, to keep it out of the reach of people that would vandalize it, as the case may be. But let's not talk about vandalism alone. What would this mean for Nigerian football and for our league, as a matter of fact?
Yeah, big one. It would be a big one. I think VAR can change the dynamics in the Nigerian Premier Football. Here's why. Because even going back to vandalism, when you realize there's VAR in the system, you get to reduce your claims and your complaints. That's basically the way I'm saying it. Fans ought to also start being responsible. And that is it. The home team also get to be responsible because they'll be manning this equipment and they have to take care of it. More security ought to be at the stadium. That's the way I say it, because we ought to protect the VAR. You have to protect the people playing football and the people watching it. So that's it for me. I think it's a good addition moving forward. But what the man did say that got me quite interested, he said, our training will begin this January.
Yeah. This year.
Referees will be sent to these countries and Morocco, because we've seen VAR in other countries. Egypt, they're running it. Zambia, they're running it. How they get to do it, Nigeria can do it too. So for me, and he said it's not going to be immediately.
Absolutely.
At least before he finishes his tenure.
Yeah.
I think they've already had 1 year now. So 3 years left within the tenure before they consider if they can go for another term. That's it for me. So in the span of 3 years, I'm looking forward to. Maybe it's obtainable, but also it can be attainable in Nigeria.
Also, Brighton, one would want to ask, is this the biggest of our problems? Well, I understand the need to get at par with the global-based practices, right? But is this the biggest problem of Nigerian football right now, the VAR system?
Well, I like to come from this angle. Sometimes you can't take all the problems away. But if you add innovation to it, it improves the setup. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I see the VAR system in Nigeria. We're talking about better referees. You can become better referees if you cannot compete with the rest in the world. We're talking about Nigerian referees not invited to AFCON. In the next few years, we'll be having most African countries are functioning with VAR. And at AFCON, we'll be having VAR. So how do you intend Nigerian referees to be invited up there? That's it. So they have to learn it now and use it within the country. If they use it within the country and it goes well, guess what? It sells Nigerian football even better. So that's the way I say it. It's not just about the problems. Problems don't get away in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. But as innovations are coming, I think it's tandem that everyone gets to follow suit. It comes with improvement, comes with certain changes.
That's the conversation. Well, we'll get your thoughts on it. What do you make of the introduction of VAR into the NPFL? Of course, do you think this is the biggest of our problems? And what would you make of the story? As I said, are you sure we'll not have a fan go there, plug the thing and charge their phones? The power situation in the country right now. So, maybe there's a contentious situation and they try to check and they realize that the system is switched off because I don't want to call somebody's name. UT has unplugged it to charge his phone.
To the air that we breathe.
That's a joke basically, but let's get your thoughts on what it will mean for Nigeria. Let's also, as part of the conversations at the retreat yesterday, the NPFL board sought for inclusion of players into the Super Eagles team, and I want us to talk about it because it is something that has been a conversation over time, and it's been divided into two basic divides. The first divide says, well, they should be called up. The second divide, proudly led by Brighton, said, well, the level of football played in the country is different from the level of football played in the Super Eagles camp. These players might not be able to catch up and all of that, but the NPFL wants equal opportunities for home-based players in the Super Eagles. The NPFL believes the move will stimulate the aspirations of players. I repeat, it will stimulate the aspiration of players to stay in the country rather than seeking clubs outside. The body also observed that it will improve the players' confidence and quality of play in the NPFL. Now, UT, I'll start with you. It is something we've talked about over time. Hamas Obasugio, Joe Lauren Leke, the last two names getting called up to the national team did not play, as a matter of fact. But the NPFL board is saying, if you can call these players up frequently, it'll stimulate their aspirations to want to stay in the country. They would want to stay. If you give some sort of slot to home-based players to the national team, some players would want to stay. And also, it will improve the quality of football played at the end before, because when they go there, play some international games against top opponents, across the world, they'll see the level, bring it back and improve.
I think it's a welcome idea. Basically, I've been one of the top proponents of, drafting the Nigerian Premier Football League players to the national team. I've cried out for a very long time, since the Honourable Rosario up until now. And of course, it looks like it's also paying dividends. But I'm quite happy that the new administration by the NFF, and of course the new led board by Benga Elegbele and by the man Elegbele, is also looking towards that direction, and also of course looking forward to particularly announcing this situation, because when we talk about the difference between maybe European players and what we have here, it's just exposure and particularly some level of experience that they've actually got up there. And I do not think that the level of football is that large in terms of quality moving forward. I've also heard, of course, one of the top managers in Nigerian Premier League, Abdullahi B4, also, voicing, particularly going the same direction of the NFF board. And it looks quite fascinating, because every time we talk about this, or every single now and then, and it's also down to, the Super Eagles manager, because it's not just about calling these players to the national team. You have to play them. So if you play them and they get some level of exposure and experience, we can actually call them top class, because from there you can actually see them compete with the very best moving forward.
Now, Blyden,
so I think it's a welcome idea.
Now, Blyden, after the Lesotho game, I was part of the, journalists that were interviewing the away coach, Leslie Notsi, the coach of Lesotho, and he was asked the question, what does he see to be the difference between the foreign-based players and players in Africa? Because bulk of the players that played in Lesotho, for Lesotho, are based in Africa. And he said there's not much difference. That maybe for the foreign-based bros, the European-based players, they just think faster than the African-based players and all of that. But what do you make of this story in the light of your constant stance that the level of football played in the Super Eagles team is not the same as the level of football played in the NPFL?
All right, let me start by clearing the doubts. I'm not against home-based players playing for the Super Eagles.
I know you're not.
I'm not against.
I know you're not.
I'm against playing the home-based players with the Super Eagles in big games, because it's supposed to be introduction. That's it. So for me, the setup isn't making sense. For example, Mari, you've been doing top-notch job. One day we just stood up and brought somebody and said, "Come on, let's give him opportunity." Do you understand? It doesn't work that way. So Mari was not saying just bring somebody and someone starts talking. It doesn't add up. It doesn't work that way. Either the person gets to embarrass the stations and embarrass himself. At the end of it, I say, why did you bring the person here? Because there are stages to these things. That's where I'm coming from.
Right.
So this is my conversation. The second part I want to address would be this. I heard they said that if a player gets to play for the Super Eagles, it gets to help them stay in the league. I faulted that one. It's not correct. We've seen it time and time again. The moment he drafted home-based players to play for the Super Eagles, boom, he leaves the country. Because he's gotten more caps and more clubs come for him and take him out. So on that regard, I do not think so. Does it improve the quality of the league? Absolutely fantastic, yes.
Well,
it can improve the
how about now? I totally agree with you. The conversation of the fact that players might not stay. Even if they're called up to the national team frequently. How about some sort of slot? Say the home base
quota system.
Some quota. What I'm trying to say. How about saying that the NPFL consistently would have at least 5 to say 7, 8 players at the national team level. So the
five is too much, Mario. 5 is too much.
5 out of 23.
Yes, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much where we are, based on where we are. Because we're talking about now, a coach comes in. Mari, it's easy to tell a coach, I put 5 MPFL players there and let them play. But on the other hand, what are you demanding from a coach? Result, isn't it? Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It's not enough.
Yeah, but you pick 5. Like, for instance, right now,
I don't think 5 is much for me.
You pick 5 of the best. Maybe one goalkeeper, 2 defenders, midfielder, and attacker.
Not playing at the same time.
Yeah, because right now I'm recommending 5 players that I think can make it to the national team and play so well.
And just like he said,
right. you would recommend 5 players that will play so well at the national team.
I tell you the truth,
Let me tell you, Mari, the difference between now and then. You know, it was a system. So many players from the home base joined the national team.
Yeah.
And it was a system. Categorically, if I ask you who the best player in the Nigerian Premier League is, would you be able to tell me?
Yeah, but there's lots of talent in the team, so I might not be able to give you a name.
That's not.
Ask me for the best striker, I'll tell you.
The Super Eagles is not a pool of potential talents where you just have a pool of potential talents.
But that's what we have right now.
No, come on, no.
We do not have established yet.
No, lots of established players.
How many established talents in the national team, Blyden? How many established talents in the national team, Blyden?
We do not.
Established talents at the national team.
It's got
Let's look at the last list of players called up. I mean, they were calling up Nathan Teller.
And
he was starting a game in Zimbabwe.
Basically.
Teller has played just 3 games on Leverkusen.
Right? He was drafted.
You're using Mari.
That's the conversation.
Those are top prospects.
You're using Nathan Teller.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is clear. Here's what I'm saying, Mari. You don't, at the state of the Super Eagles now, let me just cast your mind back when we had some of those players we've talked about, John, the Super Eagles, say Table and the rest. I used to see the progression. Some of them were moving from under 17, under 20, and they were quite good in the national team. So you can easily draft those players to the national team, and because the national team is not just giving the players a stake. It's for them to challenge for the position.
Yeah.
So right now, the quality of the league, for me, isn't good enough compared to yesteryears. Secondly, I agree they should be given opportunity to gain experience with the national team. But let's create a setup where they get exposed in smaller games. The best players in the league get exposed in smaller games. That has been my talk.
Now, Blyden, you look at Nigeria right now and the way we play at the national team. You look at the way these boys perform so underwhelmingly, and you can't even picture which is a small game, which is a big game, because they're drawing Lesotho, they're drawing Zimbabwe. So what if you just give them the opportunity and don't think about the magnitude of the game?
The way we're actually looking at the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
The for home-based players are CAF competitions. What are you talking about?
Which are the CAF competitions
do we have?
Of Africa?
What are you saying? Chan? Apart from Chan, they're playing club sides.
The African tournament?
Come on, just listen to what you're saying. These players are the ones playing in CAF competitions at club level. And it's been dismal.
No, Rivers United are in the group stages. Rivers United are in the group stages.
You're talking about Rivers United at the group stages.
Yeah.
But we're talking about African champions. Aimba beaten at preliminary series. The teams that finished second, beaten at preliminary series. What I am saying,
Nigeria's now.
However you want to
let's wrap up, guys. Let's wrap up, guys. Nigeria's top first choice goalkeeper is a bench over in Cyprus.
Yes, we agree.
Cyprus.
And he's got quality.
In Cyprus.
According to
in
what
Cyprus, guys.
We agree.
Basically.
We agree to that. What I'm saying, Mari, is this. Super Eagles is not a ground where you just try everybody. The first point of performances for these players are the CAF competitions where they play against that level at the highest level. They're not doing well.
The way we're looking at the Super Eagles of Nigeria recently, we look at it as if the talents or the players we've got there are quality enough.
Come on,
look at the last games. Look at the last games we've actually played.
They're playing top notch.
They look quite serious with the national team.
Let me give you something to talk about, UT. Blyden is saying that the national team is not a place to try everybody.
Now, why are we trying other players?
Wait, now. This is only a thing when they talk about the BFL players.
Absolutely.
But Nathan,
it is. Nathan Teller, the progression was not here in Nigeria.
Was pushed into the national team.
We never knew about Nathan Teller until
I am coming.
At the highest level. We're talking about the level.
Which highest level?
Playing at the highest
level. The man that has been benched by Leverkusen just 2 matches this season.
At that highest level that he's played for
he's not playing
Leverkusen.
He's not playing every single
week. How much of that did we see against Zimbabwe?
Yeah, with the national team.
Nothing.
How much of that?
Nothing.
What contribution?
Nothing. At the highest level, I'm coming, Blyden. At the highest level, where this man is playing in Cyprus, sitting on the bench, how much of that highest level have we seen in the national team? Right?
Even the ones that are scoring with club football.
As we wrap, one more name.
We can walk around the goalkeeping department.
It's not even about the goalkeeping department. I think it cuts across all departments.
Let me say this before. After this, I won't make any comments on this again. As I said before, I do not think that home-based players should not be given opportunity. What I'm saying is the Super Eagles level is not a ground where you just say, oh, let's try this one, let's try this one, let's try. You have to build it from somewhere and give them opportunity, as you know that you're bringing the best to play for the Super Eagles, who can compete. What I'm saying, when they're coming to play for the Super Eagles, they should come to compete with the foreign pros and not just play because they're having slot. That is basically what I'm saying.
All right.
And the performance level they have to first show us they're good enough is the CAF competitions. I want to see Enyimba play at CAF competition just as yesterday is. When you pick Enyimba footballer, Vincent Enyama, Nwaneri and the rest, you knew that they were the best among Africans.
All right.
Right now, in the MPFL, the players you're clamoring to play against senior teams from all against Africa are not the best at club levels in Africa.
All right.
Let's improve the league. Let's have quality players at that level, and then we can say, compete with these guys and not just a slot.
090-2223-1011 and 0817-624-8565. It's really hot in here despite the AC. But the conversation is, what do you make of the MPFL story and the demand to call up NPFL players to the national team as much as possible? 090-2223-1011. You can also call 0817-624-8565. Let's get your thoughts in as much as possible. The phone lines are buzzing, and we're here to take your calls in as much as possible. Caller for the day. Hello. Yeah, we can hear you now. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Prince of 8 Miles, calling from Ghana.
Oh, welcome, Prince of 8 Miles.
Yes, I quite agree with the guy saying that there should be a kind of progression. Look at Vincent Enyama, our number one goalkeeper today. We've never had any other person apart from Peter Rufai. Vincent Enyama is a goalkeeper that has been tested. And you know, he started from our league. If you look at when he was at Enyimba won Champions League back to back. So such a person, if you drive him to Super Eagles, you're not making any mistake. And from that Enyimba, that he now went to Super Eagles. So you don't just bring the players just like that without making any effort. Vincent Enyama proved himself. So these guys in our national league, they have to prove themselves. And if they prove themselves, I want to suggest the best 11 that have proven themselves from their respective clubs should now, by that match with Lesotho and Zimbabwe, we should have used that first 11 that we have gotten from all the club side, the best of them, to play that match as a test. And let's see how it is. Even if Super Eagles had lost the match in Europe, wouldn't have made us want to qualify. But it will be a kind of test for us to know how these guys are performing. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. Your thoughts really appreciated this afternoon. 090-2223-1011. 0817-624-8565. The phone lines are buzzing. Good afternoon. Welcome. Yeah, welcome. Go ahead.
I want to talk about the conversation you guys are just bringing to board. I want to say that if the former Man U coach, Louis van Gaal, did not bring out Rashford, we wouldn't have known that Rashford could have something to offer. So all those guys in that Super Eagles team currently, all those foreign players, they call themselves, they are nothing to write home about. Apart from Osimi and let me say Boniface, who be the only player that can start the match in Man City, Real Madrid, and all that type of stuff. Apart from that, the rest, none of them was see the first 11 change. So all those guys, they are average. They are not exactly stars. So let's give these young guys the chance, these home-based players, especially we have people like Daniel Jaga. We have midfielders like that. Give those boys this chance.
Thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Turn down the volume on your radio set when you talk to us. You know the drill already. 090-2223-1011 and 0817-624-8565. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mary. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome. Name and location.
Yeah, welcome back. My name is Okon. I'm calling from Iberia in Abia State.
Oh, how is Abia State today?
Yeah, it's always nice here.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I think wading into the conversation, I tend to agree with Blyden somehow, but not in entirety. When I want to say that you must prove yourself before you are invited to the Super Bowl. I agree with him totally about the quality of Nigerian players playing here and locally. Look at what anybody did. Look at what Remo did. Look at Bendel Insurance. Even Rivers United to a certain extent, they are messing themselves up. And they are the best here. So how can you tell me that anybody, they can do anything in the Super Bowl if they get there? But when it comes to the goalkeeper department, after even Blyden himself can do better than Uzoho.
Yeah, have you seen Blyden's Tommy? Have you seen Blyden's Tommy?
No matter how bad he is, I'm sure he will do better.
All right.
Understand?
Thank you.
So that's the area I'm coming from.
All right.
Welcome back, my brother.
Thank you so much. Your thoughts appreciated. Thank you so much. All right, so we have to talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria. They showed dominance yesterday against Cape Verde. Thrashed them 5-0 in the first leg of the final round of qualifiers for next year's WAFCON. 2 goals from Uche Naka and West Alcoronco in the first half. Monday Gift also scored to give the side a victory at the end of the day. Classic dominance, you'd say. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Anybody home? Knock, knock. Hello. All right, UT, come check this out for us. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Maurice, calling from Oyo.
Go ahead, Maurice.
Yeah, I want to talk about the inclusion of Nigerian players in national team. I heard someone, one of the panelists, saying that the Nigerian players cannot play. They don't believe that. You can mention, just tell me, how many nation cups that Nigeria has won without a single Nigerian player playing there? It's not. So you bring out all the international players to play. This African football, this African nation cup, which number 2 will man number 11, number 3 will man number 7.
All right.
Forget about the pattern. They say they will play the different pattern. It's the same pattern they will play in African football. Not the back win nation cup for us, the last one. So why don't you bring, maybe we don't even have a player like a skimmer in that team.
All right, thank you.
The players. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to us this afternoon. Hello. Welcome to the show. Yes.
Good afternoon, my grandma.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Yes, Blyden and Victor. I think it is a good call for number of people to be included in our football, especially now that some of these Europeans will not be having this to another players to be here. But I think that should not be done on the plaza of goal. What could be the problem of bringing a player, especially those playing with them, runs to the national team to be the quality and the commitment. Even those of these players who will become unfair, the commitment is not there. You will see them not giving their all. So I think when the player has quality play at the main front and the commitment is there, I think it will be good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Joe from Igbanya, for talking to us. Well, UT, there were concerns about the Super Falcons and their quality, but they put all of that behind them, showed a lot of energy. Defeated Cape Verde 5-0. Any surprises?
I think no surprises for me, because I've always believed that the girls drafted in to replace the regular names, particularly that start out of the qualifiers, are good enough to do the damage, and they just showed how far and how quality they've actually been in the past couple of months. We're talking the likes of Esther Okonkwo, who had a brace in the game, the likes of what's her name, Deborah Abiodun, and of course the likes of Tony Payne. They were absolutely outstanding for the Super Falcons just yesterday in that resounding victory. So it's just about consolidating on the victory when they go to Cape Verde next week particularly, and at this time it looks like we can actually
5-0. That's something. And I think the Cape Verdeans are quite intimidated now. We're hosting the Super Falcons in the second leg. I expect them to have a victory even in the second leg.
Thank you very much, Blighty, for keeping it short and simple. We'll take a few calls in, but let's tell you that the NFF has extended the registration process for next year's Federations Cup by 2 weeks in a circular to all Football Association secretaries dated 30th November 2023, signed by Ruth David, Acting Director of Competitions, indicates that the late registration will attract a penalty. The Federation, however, did not indicate the date for the commencement of the state preliminary rounds and finals of the oldest football competition in the country. Also, the football body pegged the registration fee at 150,000 naira for the men's team and 100,000 naira for the women's team, while late registration would attract 200,000 naira for the men and 120,000 naira for the women.
The world is red.
Well, we know that the Federations Cup is a single elimination knockout tournament featuring 74 teams from 36 states and 1 team from the FCT, after all clubs have qualified from the respective state qualifiers, and that's the story. So if you have plans of participating, know that you have at least another 2 weeks to register. Back to the phone lines. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Byron.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Mary.
Good afternoon. Name or location?
Okay, this is Ghana from calling from you.
Go ahead.
Some home-based play need to be drafted into the team. Now, we need to look at the question of the... Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so we need to at least draft some of the best players now to match the banner today. We are afraid of how we power the finishing that's having in the league. And that's some of the good players. Like the one we just had that really are different league. When I thought 91 the league, and that chance achievement, all of them, they were that's because they were not drafted into it. When you draft into the team, they give them the person stay in the league to play. So just giving them like that, just being to call the following the team because they can't deliver for us. Let us try the whole base and see if at least we can get something from them. You know, all like in Ghana, that and now we had them. They were best team from the home league, team together of the all people. So we need to drag them into the home league. We give them a case of belonging and at least that they appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sadly, even the ones that left the country like Olisanda still is struggling to get called up to the national team. Blighty, want to take a bite before we move on?
That's good conversation for me. First conversation or problem I always have is when they're at home base, everybody clamors for them to be part of that team. The moment they leave, we forget about them. And it reminds me of this talk.
No, we still talk about Olisanda.
Not just Olisanda, there are lots of other players. But it reminds me of the home base team. Remember those qualifiers with Mexico and the rest?
Yeah.
I guess what? They said the Super Eagles, the foreign pro weren't good enough. And we packed home base. What happened?
Who was the gaffer?
The two games they played, they were beaten black and blue. No shot on target.
Who was the gaffer of that side? That's another
so for me,
question.
it's all about that progression that I talked about. Before now, we used to have those. Remember the game we played, Nigeria played against Atletico Madrid? That major.
Yeah.
We had some home-based players, some other pros, foreign pros, who weren't part of the mainstay of the Super Eagles. But what happened? They performed quite well. And you could spot who was such a quality player and then draft them to the national team. And they compete with the very best. That's the order it should go. Progression forward.
I like the idea of that, though. All right, so let's look at the Europa League. As a matter of fact, you saw games last night. West Ham defeating back at the Pola. Go to Olympiacos 5-0 against losing to Freiburg, and Nigeria's Noah Tubolu is there. He's a goalkeeper, could get into the national team, but
he won't be called up.
But we think that Uzo is the best name we have. Well, Brighton defeated AEK Athens by a goal to 0. They've qualified for the next round. We'll talk about Brighton in the coming days. Well, their run to this stage has been remarkable. Marseille, in a 7-goal thriller, defeated Ajax 4-3, and the stone that the builders at Chelsea and Arsenal rejected became the chief cornerstone, scored a hat-trick as Marseille defeated Ajax 4-3, but Chubak scored as well. Liverpool 4. Beautiful story, and of course Bayer Leverkusen defeating Harcourt 2 goals. We're just selecting the games we saw last night, and Victor Boniface ended his 5-game goal drought for club and country, scored yesterday. That makes sense, and you can tell he went to X and gave one of those ridiculous tweets, as a matter of fact. The tweet says that he just posted a picture of the team photo before the BK Hacken game, and then he said that during the crossover nights this year that he's going to cry because he's seen a lot this year. When he gets into the church, for the church to know he's serious, he's going to switch off the generator and just start crying.
What's wrong with that man?
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with the man.
The world is
Hands 4-1, and Gift Urban scored in that game. That's like 5 goals in 4 games. The man definitely is one for the future UT.
Yeah, certainly. And it looks like I do not know why he's still particular in that club side. For the past 2 years, he's been quite consistent. I do not know. Maybe it's
just 1 year now. He's up to 2 years.
It's not up to 2 years.
Just 1 year.
I'm talking about from last season, particularly. I expected him to go to a better club, far better than that. That's what I mean.
Yeah, he almost. And then at some point, the club, I think the club, put some start and on, and then he even blamed the coach for trying to tamper his career.
I think it's basically about being consistent, being sure that he's consistent for big clubs of that caliber.
And recently there's been this spike of injuries.
Yeah, spikes of injuries and quarrel with the coaches. Recently the coach came out to say when the fans were clamoring why Gift Urban wasn't playing, the coach said, come on, you need a player that brings more than just scoring goals. So you could see there's a rift within the coach and the player, but had to start, and each time he gets to start in the conference league, he's scoring goals.
Well, bring more than just scoring goals. How do you win games?
What do strikers have to do? What's their basic responsibility? It's not just about scoring goals.
Most coaches talk about pressing.
He should leave at the end of the season.
I remember the last man with some Google who talked about pressing never worked at some stakeholders' clubs.
Gang
pressing.
Hello, Victor.
Good afternoon, happy new month to you. I'm really happy with your talking point because you have great time to talk so many things that ensure the development of football. Well, FIFA can facilitate their own for them to see how they can improve football here in Africa. But they always do all the effort in their various continent for them to come back from and make football to key into the world view. So the VAR issue here in Nigeria is something to look at for. But first of all, we must do a good stadium. Because when people will sit there in other countries, they will have the picture of what they want. So for this weekend that I quite last weekend was so bad. And also my team tells me they should try their best to see how they can win match this weekend to make the fans to be happy. And I wish my team best and about the best. That's my big thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a Friday, guys. I'm looking forward to another exciting weekend of club football, basically. Well, let's just look at some club football stories. First of all, we hear that, Bruno Fernandes has asked Andre Onana to improve. But Erik ten Hag has come out to say that Onana is the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League. We'll look at that. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
my name is Marizona. Turn down the volume on your radio set.
Marizona, thank you very much. This is Super Joe from
Oh, Super, it's been a while. Welcome.
Yes, Marizona, I want to first of all congratulate Paul Bassey.
Right.
Yes, for the post. It's a welcome development to our parliamentary and it's a welcome development to Nigeria. For us to have Paul Bassey there. Because he's the only man here in Nigeria. As I'm doing in Aqua United, I love that man so much. Because he's a very well-spoken man. I love him so much.
Right.
So I say congratulations to that man. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Please do what's coming back, Super Joe. The network cut you off. Please call us back as soon as possible. Right, Brighton, this is going to concern you. Mali, your Mali, defeated Argentina 3-0 in the bronze medal game at the Under-17 World Cup. Well, Africa duly represented by the Malians.
Yeah, that's massive. I was beginning to think what happened at the end of it. Let's just go to the competition. How many teams from Africa? And no one gets to win a medal in it. Good to have the bronze medal. For once, because when you talk about the Mali side, the Malians are perennial semi-finalists. Not being able to cross the semi-final to the finals, but at least they're going home with something. Massive talents in there. Lots of them, especially the captain of the side. And it makes for good reading for me.
Definitely. Congrats to the Malians for showing that much class and quality. Hello, good afternoon.
This is This is the Gunners man calling back.
All right, Gunners man, go ahead.
Look at the VAR that they say they're going to be introduced. Well, we should have ourselves a basic question. This is not something that you come to imply. This is a dependent something. We have the facility. Who are the people that are going to run the VAR? Like, people in the advances, the English Premier League, you have 3 hours before mistakes here and there. Now, when it comes to Nigeria, we should at least get the referees to be trained. Because VAR is the final decision in football. Yeah. As it starts now, we all know it. And if the general takes a decision and the referee aligns with them, and it does not favor anybody, you don't have to cancel. Sometimes it may cause a problem in the whole stadium. So at least I think we should hold it first and use what we are using now. The referee should be trained on the VAR. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for talking to us as we bounce. For the player of the month of November, nominees were released, I think it was yesterday, and well, Raheem Sterling of Chelsea is there in that list alongside Harry Maguire of Manchester United and other players. We'll look at the players tomorrow. The award should be given tomorrow, so we'll talk about it in the afternoon, 12:30. This should be the lucky last call. Hello, Supo.
Yeah, this is Supo Joe coming back.
Yes, welcome, Supo Joe.
Talk about the VR. I think it should be a very welcome development. It would be a very welcome development. I will see them in Nigeria Premier League. So I'm begging them, please, let them bring the VR. And let me train our referee, because here in Nigeria we don't have any referee. I'm telling you the truth, and we don't have any referee. So I think that
we have referees. Simple Joe, we have referees.
We don't have referees, because I'm telling you, they cannot sustain more than 10 to 12 referees that they cannot blow.
Right.
I'm telling you, so we have to train our referees here in Nigeria. I'm telling you, we have to promote our football here in Nigeria. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for talking to us. This should be the final call for the day. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. All right, network is proving to be stubborn. Blighted as we bounce.
Yeah, Everton are expected to. They've submitted basically an appeal against deduction of 10 Premier League points and handed down by the Independent Commission. Amid concerns they were about to be deducted another point. They just submitted an appeal regarding that.
Well, they should let them breathe, as a matter of fact. Well, that's it for the show this afternoon. So excited to have been a part of it. Thank you, Blyden. Thank you, UT.
Always a pleasure.
It's the 1st of December, guys, and it's a Friday.
Quite happy. Gliding towards the weekend.
You don't even sound happy. Why?
I don't have to shout before you know I'm happy.
Blyden,
come on.
This man doesn't sound happy.
I don't have to shout before you know I'm happy.
He withdrew his text.
Thinking of the bills he will pay.
I do not understand.
You know his text at Manchester United have not been yielding.
It dropped, basically. This period, sometime when we were younger, this is the day where they'll call us, Isaac, come, bring your leg. They use broom to measure your legs. Be respecting ketos before the end of the year.
Though you missed out of one today anyway.
Yeah, I did. It is well with me. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marizona. I had UT David for company, and Blyden again was saying ciao. Have a lovely Friday. Vinna Talks up next.